Recently, I had a question asked on our YouTube channel about male aggression in rams. Of course, a ram is called a ram because it's going to ram. That's just what they do. And the question kind of pertained to they have a naturally polled or a polled Katahdin who is very friendly but likes to play by headbutting. I was out in this pasture recording part of a video. The rams were just chilling behind me and the guy was blown away. So with chickens, I know these are sheep, but with chickens, you're going to want to have ones that have things like mothering instincts. You're going to want to have ones that can go broody on their eggs if your goal is not to have a bunch of time invested with incubators. If you want something to more run on its own and that they can just take care of it on their own, don't eat that, sheep. Without you having to spend the electricity or the effort to hatch out the next generation. And then of course, if you have to hatch them in an incubator and you're going to be taking care of your own chicks in a brooder, that's a lot more labor intensive than just simply allowing the mother to take care of it. He said his would never, he wouldn't be able to do that because his thing would come up and start headbutting him. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about just male aggression in rams, about kind of the top ram, and how I deal with it here on my homestead. Now, I don't always dress up like this with my sheepskin vest and put my dreadlocks up in 4 horns to show that I'm the top ram around here. But even when I don't, I've developed a couple things that work really well, and I'm going to get into them in this video because a very aggressive ram can be dangerous for adults and children, for guests and people who live on the property. And we're going to kind of go through some stuff today which will hopefully help you. So, with all male sheep, you're going to have an opportunity for them to become aggressive. Part of how they show their dominance and kind of jockey for position within the flock is by butting heads, and it's just something that they do. Some are going to have a really bad demeanor and just be tougher and meaner and more aggressive, but everyone has that potential. And sometimes when you raise your own, you wind up with these cute little baby lambs. The friendlier that they are to you to start with, the more aggressive they could be as things progress, because they're not going to be afraid of you. Sheep on their own are going to tend to stay more far away. They're going to tend to be more afraid of humans, but the more you interact with them, the more they lose that fear. If they lose that fear, then they're going to come closer to you, and at some point, usually about the time they hit puberty or sexual reproduction, they might start trying to challenge you. When they do that, it's not going to be just a full-out, completely aggressive, attack on you, but they're going to start somewhere. And if you do not take control of that situation and make it incredibly unpleasant for them, it's going to encourage them to progress with that. The less you interact with your rams, the better it's going to be. The more friendly you are, the more the tendency for them to hurt you is going to be. But you have to make sure that either the first time or every time, if it continues, that you make it very unpleasant for them. Now, the person who left the comment has a polled Katahdin. That's going to be a little tougher to take control of the situation. What I like about these guys with the Jacob sheep is they're polycerate. They can have more than 2 horns. They can have 2, 4, or 6 horns. And what that does is that gives you some handles. It is really easy to take an animal like this, kind of take the bull by the horns, only it's a ram, and show your dominance over it. I even like this for transporting them. Sometimes if they don't want to come with you, you've got 2 handles on one side and 2 handles on the other side so that 2 people can just grab the bottom horn and the top horn and just walk them. That works really well. So Dodge here is the flock sire right now. 2 of these here, the 2 closest to him, are his sons. He's about a 4-year-old ram. This one on this side is 2 years old. This is Jacob. He's his son. But if you see that Hesperidian horn mass, Jacob kind of rivals Dodge. And that's why Dodge sees him as the biggest threat as opposed to Thunderkill and Ezekiel over here. And when Dodge first tried to start coming at me, I would grab 2 of the horns, and I'm not trying to hurt the animal, I'm not trying to break its neck, but I'm trying to put it in its place and show it that I am in dominion and authority over it. And I would turn him over and lay him on his back and hold him there. And for a while he would kick and struggle, but I would keep him down there, make it very obvious to him that I'm in control of the situation, I have the authority over him, and he's not going to go anywhere. I did that a couple times. Now, he doesn't really come at me at all. And in fact, when I show up and kind of show myself to be dominant, a lot of times the first thing he'll do is he'll headbutt Jacob. And the reason he does that is he knows that I'm in authority over him, but he wants to make sure that he holds his position over the rest of them. Since he sees Jacob as the biggest threat, he'll start headbutting him a lot if I show up on the scene. You know, when I'm not there, he's in control, he's the top ram, he's the one who has, you know, the jurisdiction and dominion over this area, and everyone else is underneath him. But when I show up, he realizes I took that position, and immediately often will start hitting Jacob here to take dominion over him. Again, with a pulled ram or something like that, it's going to be harder to do because there's just less to grab onto. You kind of get them in maybe a headlock and grab a leg. I used to play around with some dogs a lot. I had a four-legged takedown where you just kind of leg sweep them, knock them over like that playfully. But the more playful they are, the more friendly they are, the less afraid of you they are, the more that they're going to potentially challenge you and create some issues for you, especially if you're out working in the field that they're in, feeding them, watering them, you know, you're bent over, dumping out a bucket of water into their pen. This comes up behind you and hits you, that could be terrible. Thankfully, these here are kind of angled back, but some of the Jacob sheeps will have horns that come out almost straight. That's like two daggers that they could potentially puncture a leg, you know, hit a main artery, cause some serious problems for you. In the animal kingdom, there's usually going to be something like that. You know, the chickens have a pecking order, if you will. Rams are the rams. They're going to be ramming one another. You know, bighorn sheep are incredible at just smashing heads with one another. And even these guys here, sometimes they'll tear a little bit of wool off, but mostly their horns are angled back. They'll smash heads a little bit. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of blood in between the horns and stuff, but these are massive, the way that these horns grow. And it's a lot of, you know, hard surface right on their heads that they interact with. Thankfully, it can not only be used as a, you know, attacking weapon, but a shield to a degree too. You've always got to make sure that your animals are safe and secure, and also that people are safe from them. We've got a pretty good fence up here. We have locked gates that we use. And you know, if I have a ram that's very aggressive, I'm not going to have my children come out and do chores on their own. Part of the reason that we put up the whole perimeter fence the way that we did out of cattle panels here is because of the wild hogs in the area. They can be aggressive. I don't want a small pack of children going out to do chores in the morning and all of a sudden running into 20 or 30 wild hogs. That could be a terrible situation, so I've got to keep that fence to keep things off, but also to keep people out. If you have one that's very, you know, aggressive and dangerous, you're going to want to kind of have it somewhere that people are not going to be able to get to it and that it's not going to be able to get to people. You've got to control animals if you know that they're going to be like that. The Bible even talks about that. You know, if you've got a bull that goes and gores somebody and it was known to push ahead of time, you know, that's your fault, is what Scripture says. So we got to take those things into account. Jacob is still really friendly, and thankfully he's under him where he'll walk up to me and I'll say hi to him, but I don't spend a lot of time petting him or scratching him behind the ears or trying to give him treats or stuff like that, because I know at some point he's gonna, you know, he can potentially turn and become more aggressive, and the friendlier he is with me, the more I'm gonna put myself at risk and my children at risk. Sometimes the rams would like to chase people a little more. Some of the kids had a little bit of fun with that, but we shut that down. Like, guys, that's not a game, because the second they catch you or something like that happens, you know, we've got an issue on our hands. So with these guys, that's how it works here. This guy's the biggest, and I'll tell you what too, like I said, if I just go like this, I've got a couple nice handles here that I can hold him and control him with. I can grab on these top ones here, like I said. If I grab from the side, this is a pretty good grip. If I've got somebody hanging on to the other side, that's pretty easy. If I grab them like this and kind of like a wrestling move, tip them like that, I can throw them down like this. And again, I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm gonna hold him there and I'm gonna show him that I am absolutely in authority over him. It's wet and snowy right now, so I don't want him sitting here too long where he's gonna warm up the ground and he's gonna start getting cold. But you can see here, just with one hand, I'm keeping him there. He's just chewing his cud. He's rather submissive right now, kind of like if you walk up on a dog and it rolls over in front of you. He's not kicking, he's not fighting. And I'm gonna let him up in just a minute, but I'm making sure that he does a little bit of struggle and sees that he cannot get out of here. Okay, now I'm gonna let him up, and it may be that he decides to go show something up. Yeah, See, now they're gonna butt a little bit. You know, Jacob ran up on him. He saw that he was put in dominance, you know, under my authority, so he came up. I once heard a story, and we watched a video about a guy who had a bison, and the bison is quite a big animal. You don't want to mess with them, but he had that animal under his authority, and that bison would sit in its pen and try for hours and hours and hours to get out, and he wasn't able to, but the man would come over and just with one hand he would open the gate and let the bison out. So from the bison's point of view, that man was very, very strong, and just with one hand could lift it up, so he had no, you know, inkling to ever challenge that guy or ever pose a threat to him. Just kind of a fantastic thing. Glad to see that. See, now here, he knows I'm not doing anything to him. I'm not trying to be cruel or mean or hurt the animal, or, you know, come out and every time I see it try to, you know, kick snow at it or throw sticks at it or do something mean to it. You know, that's not my intention here, and it understands that. It doesn't have a fear of me where every time I show up it needs to run to the opposite corner of the pasture, and if it did, that would create some issues where I try to move the animals from, you know, pasture to pasture, pen to pen, and it would not want to cooperate at all. It does not necessarily see me as a threat, which is why it's right here. If I reach out, it might back up a little bit. Not really even, you know. I can touch its horn, and it didn't do too much there. But it understands that I have authority over it. Essentially, even when I don't dress up goofy, I'm the top ram here, and he knows that. For us, Jacob's sheep just work really well. Of course, with the horns, they do have a potential to hurt people more than like a polled animal where you have a ram with no horns. But also, like I said, they work well for handles for us if we want to control the animal. So that's a benefit. We like the milk, we like the wool, we like the look of them. Maybe we'll even make some shofars from the horns, some ram's horn trumpets. But they're the ones that we've chose. As always, do your own research with different breeds. If there's ones that are known to be more aggressive and maybe you're less physically capable, maybe you're of smaller stature and you don't want to deal with that, don't get a breed that gets big and tough. Get one of the more smaller, more docile breeds. Get something that doesn't have giant crazy horns sticking out every which direction. Here with Jacob, like I said, his horns pretty much rival his dad's at this point, and they're rather impressive. It's crazy to see this much stuff grow in pretty much 2 years because those are rather massive. But as I show, you know, this is a great way to have a handle on things, is to have 4 different options to grab this thing and be able to control it. And like I said, if I needed to flip them, I could flip them pretty easily too, especially one here and one across there. This guy doesn't really pose any threats to me. He doesn't really care. He understands, you know, I'm 2 tiers up from him because Dodge is over him and I'm over Dodge. So he should be fine. Now Zeke here is completely unrelated to all the other ones we have. Although some babies will start to be sired from him this year. He kind of had some arranged marriages with some of the ewes last year, and then soon he should have some babies. He's going to take over as herd sire just to diversify the genetics, plus he's got some really good genetics for the breed. As you see, his horns may not be quite as symmetrical, but he's a good looking sheep, pretty tough. He was incredibly afraid of us at first. Now he acts like the rest where he doesn't mind coming around, especially at times like this. There's no pasture because it's all snow. We're feeding him hay. He understands we're not a threat. We're just here to take care of him. And even now, I'm hanging out with like 2 fingers. He's just mostly chewing his cud and not actively trying to challenge me or get away or see me as a big threat. Besides just knowing the breeds that you're getting involved in, watch the individual animals. You might want the best genetics for the breed standard, or you might want the most docile and well-behaved one, maybe the one that's more skittish around you and less likely to come by you. Again, these are ours. We know them rather well, and we definitely appreciate them, but there's a reason I can come out in here, shoot a video, have these guys as a backdrop, and not need to worry about getting rammed by one of these 4-horned rams. Hopefully this video helped. I'll see you next time. Papa out.
Thank you for watching. And the